Peace, 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 and love you all. It's me, Chi Bata, aka King Chi, and I am back to sip and chat with you all. As y'all can hear, this is live. The tea kettle is finally ready for me to pour some tea. So I'll give you all just a moment to tune in. Um, Drop your location, rep your set when you get in the chat. Welcome back. I miss you all so much. Let me go and pour me some tea, and I'll be right back. Go and grab you something to drink, and let's get into where have I been? What has been going on? For those of you who aren't in some of the paid locations, you haven't seen me in quite some time. So I'll be right back. Y'all let everyone know that I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get me some tea so that I can set up with you all. All right, give me just a moment. All right, y'all. Hey, hey, hey. So, for the last couple of months, it has been a beautiful and ugly ride. But no pity here. You all have been through your own changes. However, what I love to see is that, like myself, a lot of you don't look like some of the changes that you've been experiencing at such a deep, deep level. So, your mother here at the top of the year had experienced for the first time. Y'all know I like to teach from things that I've experienced versus, just reading a book and then claiming to know something. I had never experienced watching someone on their way out of here. Okay. And not just someone very, very close to me. So, for those of you who can relate, who have had to have I will call it a privilege and an honor, although it's kind of heavy, to be by your loved one's side as they transition through that abyss into another realm, not even into their ancestral realm, because there's so many things that have to occur for that long journey, right? You all can relate that, I guess, for the most part, it is hard on one hand because if you're like me and you've been able to see people through and bring them back and um, basically it seems as if we all have tools. I have tools to ensure the livelihood of individuals, but then there's these moments where we are taught firsthand that some things are just absolutely written, and it is what it is. In those moments, um, we have to learn how to see the good, see the silver lining, see the lessons, see the blessings in what is happening. Not just a matter of what's happening to us, or like this is always happening to me and it's not fair, but realizing that what's fair, kind of life is not fair. Life is not fair. And if you care anything about your practice, you'll take responsibility for creating more opportunities for things to go your way, which is why I think we're all here in the first place. But what I learned throughout that process is that, man, I learned firsthand also about the setbacks of religion, the setbacks of not having a practice that gives you more face time with the dark sides or shadows or the demons that exist within us or around us. And I want to say kudos to the folks who showed up in my life that exhibited absolute care for their own selves, which made it so much easier for me to navigate through a very, very high emotional space in my life. I know it probably sounds kind of crazy for y'all that some of these experiences are rather new for me. I know I hear from clients all the time that, you're practicing, you have an altar up, you want to light your candles, and for whatever reason, you have family that automatically thinks like you're channeling Satan and you're trying to do something negative without any regard to the fact that here we are as a people who have been stripped of so much of our identity as Black people on a planet. And no matter how much information we have access to, how much media comes through via our own doing to promote and support us spiritually and reclaiming our power as people, it's evident that we still tend to find it so easy to tear one another down. And most of that, I genuinely don't feel like it's just a matter of like we're just a bunch of haters. We just hate on each other and we find a way to not love one another. It's clear to me that it's more so that we lack enough spaces where our folks feel comfortable enough in being vulnerable when our folks are around. So we feel uncomfortable around the stranger in a strange land. And so we don't always want to address certain things like mental illness. We don't want to address certain things like ignorance spiritually. We don't want to address our judgments that we have for one another because all of these different contradictions or conflicting ideas make us uncomfortable with one another. It's become so problematic for us as a people because all the other cultures maintain this piece of wisdom where they're able to collaborate during major rites of passage that are part of life that create lots and lots and lots of vulnerability amongst one another. One of those collaborations are financial literacy and preparation and family planning. One of those other vulnerabilities and collaborations that are necessary are to understand the hierarchies of families and how they operate, and how blended families can learn to cooperate with one another so that the whole as a legacy is not lost in translation, because there's so much combative energy of like who gets to be the boss and who gets to be the follower and who gets to be the laborer and who gets to be the director. There's so many different things involved in some of these rites of passages that if we had more sacred spaces and trained individuals in things like shadow work, in things like psychiatry, psychology, more knowledge and tools about how to quell an angry spirit, how to um, bring peace amongst people who are battling with one another. There's spells for that. And then there's literal mediation techniques available for that. But too often, in the mix of things like death, things like births, things like marriages, things like still celebrating the Thanksgiving holiday where everyone comes together, or then it's Christmas and everyone comes together, and we have all this mixed blood, not just mixed blood physically, but mixed blood as far as value systems and ways of operating as a unit. They come together in this big old jumbo, and it's kind of like, where do I fit in? We just need more spaces to have these blow ups, to have these open conversations, to have these outbursts of emotions, so that we don't end up isolated and so focused on the individual needs of one person when there are so many that belong to a community. So yeah, that's the first thing. Experiencing a loss is one thing. Understanding how to mourn, why certain cultures, it's just automatic. Someone passes who is especially someone of great prestige in the community, it is necessary, it is respectable, it is honorable for one to mourn the individual by just withdrawing into a space where they can honor this very delicate transition between the flesh into the spirit. All right. Whew. So there's that. And that first person that I got to hold his hand and just be there and love on and appreciate and adore was my stepdad. I know everyone says F cancer, right? Shouts out to everybody who's behind that and trying to advocate for alternative ways of healing through cancer. But I realized in the process that aggressive energy, combative energy towards this entity called cancer feeds it in such an ugly way. Really, really and truly. And I want you to be aware of that. For those of you who have either had to sit in my position or, God forbid, but you end up in that position, that you can be grounded enough in your practices not to go toe for toe with anyone who might be experiencing the weight of angst, of upsetness, of doubt, of fear, of feeling incomplete, feeling out of time. For one thing, when we feel out of time, especially with someone who is dear to us, there's this whole reel, this whole film that goes back over all of the things that you've experienced with the individual. And what I realized about the power of mindset is that if you have a positive mindset and you've done the work to understand that forgiveness is not something that you give to anyone, it is something that you absolutely do it yourself. Then when you go back to rewind the tapes, your mind can focus more on the gifts of such an exchange with that individual. You understand? If not, you can end up losing more time very quickly focusing on the negative things and losing that momentum to create the lasting impression. They say first impressions are lasting, last impressions are for a lifetime. All right? First impressions are lasting, but last impressions are for a lifetime. Because once that's it, that's the final judgment. After all of this time that has been spent with an individual, it all comes down to, well, how did it end? Right? We know that we watch movies, we're down for we're watching the whole thing. We in it. You know, the beginning of the movie could be like, it's got our attention. We in it, it's good. We're gonna watch the whole thing. You could watch a movie that has been fantastic the whole time, right? You kind of like hanging on every word, every line, every scene change. But if that joint got a whack ending, you will lose all the steam. You don't even want to talk about the movie. You don't want to tell anybody to watch it because the way things end is the imprint. It's the same with a relationship. The relationship obviously starts off bubbly, it's great, it's fantastic, you're into each other, it's fantastic, fantastic. You go through your ups, your downs, you grow, you smile, you frown, you cry, you laugh. But at the end, even if there's a whole bunch of tension, if there's some type of peaceful reconciliation, time can go by and most of your memories will be about the good things that you experienced. And even the negative things that you experience, you won't be looking at them as ways to punish the person in your memory, but you'll be looking at those things that you experienced as jewels for your present and your future. So what I love about life and being present is that there were so many more opportunities to reconnect, to reestablish, to even establish for the first time connections with people, places, and faces that were more aligned to who I am, where I am now, than when this whole relationship began back when I was just a little girl. The other piece, of course, is, we want to be prepared for what is inevitable. So shouts out to you all who practice, what is it? Financial responsibility and accountability. And you have your family set up with life insurance policies and your bills paid on time. And those who are old enough to understand know exactly what accounts go to. But shouts out to y'all, because moving forward, moving forward, Black people, we just gotta be on top of that. We just do. We really do. Because we got it. We are so gifted. We are so creative. We are so talented. And in having all of these gifts, it is really our time to understand and to implement, not just to understand something, but to implement, to apply the knowledge that has been revealed to us either through our own curiosity and study, or because the situation presented itself, of how to claim our rights to what we've created. Just period, what we have created, whether it's intellectual, whether it's a product, whether it's a song, clothing, a design, a concept. All of those things are really important. All right. And then lastly, with the whole spiel on family transitioning, the queen, my grandmother, the mother of my stepfather, and the grandmother I grew up with the closest to, she transitioned. But watching the difference in transitions made it more clear to me that no matter what you call divine, whether it's yourself or you believe in a God in the heavens that you need to communicate with outside of yourself, when it comes down to it, how you treat yourself, how you walk in your truth, is your daily practice and devotion to what that divinity is. And the way we transition has a lot to do with how much we've been able to let go and to trust in the divine, that truth shall continue to carry you forward no matter what. No making up faces, no faking, no worrying about how everyone else is going to respond to your truth, especially when you've earned it. Some of y'all have earned the right to just say whatever the hell you want to say. You know what I mean? You've provided spaces for people. You've provided roofs over folks' heads. You've fed people. You've taught people, whatever it is. And you've been able to take care of yourself and other people at the same time. You've earned your stripes to speak on whatever it is that you need to speak off your chest. Which leads me to the other piece of development. Okay? So in all of this, because I experienced some true religious colonization. That's what I'm gonna call it, where the oppressor has become my brother or my sister. Not literally. I don't want my siblings watching this like, what? I ain't do nothing to you, G. No. But I realized that, if we go to certain schools with certain ideologies, no matter the color of our skin, the ideology goes into the mind. And once the mind has been formed by these particular ideologies, It's like we don't even have a choice in how we deal with other people. We may think we have a choice, but unless we really come to terms with the fact that if you've been in any type of schooling where you had to shut it up, follow instructions, this is what the protocol is, and you don't have the opportunity to think outside those lines, no matter how empowered you feel once you reach the top, you can only deliver that same thing because it's what you know as far as what is successful. And that same oppression that you experienced while you were going through it, you pass it on to the other, regardless of wanting to have others come out the way that you feel is empowered. But just like our DNA continues to want to evolve. So if we find ourselves in this loop of cookie cutter systems that lacks the flexibility and the wisdom and the sensibility of how we are different, how times have changed, how circumstances are different, then that same cookie cutter system can create more blockages, more retarded situations, right? Stunted in growth situations amongst one another than we planned for. We may have a vision of so many more people freed because you've reached this place of leadership, of standing at the top. Like, ta-da! I finally made it to the top. Now I'm going to use everything the same way I got it and give it to others. Well, those others coming along, they have a totally different experience. They don't have the same exact base or foundation as you. Their whole skeletal structure is different. So some are going to float, and then some are going to find it very, very difficult to maneuver in that space. And then how do we shift authentically? Do we say, well, this is the way I know it, this is the way I want it to be, and I don't grow, and I just do it this way? Sure, if it's your choice, this is not a matter of good, bad, better or worse. It's a matter of acknowledgement and accountability, awareness. And what a lot of people have witnessed for themselves. While I'm hoping at this point you're feeling lighter, because this time is really about feeling lighter. You're gonna feel lighter if you're wheeling and dealing in spaces that are more authentic to what you're aware of for yourself as what is true. And we tend to figure out what is true when we tune into our hearts. When you get around certain environments, there's a heart flutter because it's excited and the passion and adrenaline is pumping through, like, I'm just so happy to be here. Or there's a heart flutter because you have a bunch of anxiety and angst and worry. Or does your heart flutter because you stop breathing and you realize in the presence of this space or this situation, my system shut down? I think it's clear that we're on another pathway where the constraints of only doing things this particular way and not being seen for the geniuses within has created some contention. but it's all good because everyone is finding their way. They're figuring it out. I've been doing this the way that I was supposed to, and it's not working. Or I've been doing this my own way and not doing it the way it was given to me, and it's not working out. We've been having very, very clear and concise examples shown to our faces of what works, what doesn't work. And if it don't work, fix it. And if it does work, let it be and continue to flourish. Um, I think it's clear that we're moving into a space where we have very new emotional ties to our groupings. Learning how to be emotionally available to one another has generated some awesome, awesome, awesome spaces for our people, like I said, to communicate, to emote, to heal. And more people are gathering in these spaces to heal out loud, which I love so much. And we're seeing that there's so much good news coming our way for doing the necessary work to make those connections, whether it's taking a chance and working with people who are different than you've worked with before, whether it's speaking when you're usually quiet, or taking the chance to learn something different. Um, it's beautiful. And what's great about the risk taking that has occurred is that the risk have been done at the heart level, and the future is way brighter because the connections are authentic. The connections are true to life. The connections are fruitful, because when we move into a space where the connections are authentic, there's not much that can get in the way of the productivity of the community that is working that way together. We see villages getting built is because everyone has an authentic connection to the value systems. When we see groups flourish and money being made, the connections are authentic to the value systems, to the heartbeat, to the calling that is what you came here for, your definite purpose. So if you know your definite purpose now, you'll realize that you're being more attractive and magnetizing to yourselves folks, places, conferences, workshops, all kind of things that are more in alignment with what you were made for. So that's been a lot of the time spent behind the scenes, besides the fact that we have an amazing sacred ceremony coming up the end of this month that I have been working behind the scenes with the Occult College to bring together. We have some really talented, beautiful souls working their butts off behind the scenes, keeping up with their personal assignments so that they can take this energy and really ride a high tide and stay up there. And so I just want to shout them out. The Latri Sum Gang, the New Sacred Ceremony crew, because they putting in work. They putting in work, y'all. And that's it. I am looking forward to having more heart-centered conversations with you all and reopening the doors to the bliss, building love and sacred spaces, opening the doors to the House of Chi, As it develops more into a space where you can not only learn rituals, but learn the rituals of self, learn how to apply alchemical science and psychology to your everyday lives. So you're not just losing it and unable to find yourself in a place and space of peace. Because without that peace, you can't think clearly. Your beautiful gifts of creativity are like smashed like little ants, and that's not okay. And so I'm looking forward to more of that. Um, Plenty to discover in person. And that's about it. So if you're interested, if this is your first time coming here to the House of Chi, please feel free to hit me up. You can text me at 202 810 1876. 202 810 1876. And you can link me on Facebook under Chi Vital so that we can connect and I can keep you abreast of different things going on that I personally get into, like comedic yoga and some other forms of meditation, and fairy work. To all my fairy gang, I look forward to getting outdoors now that this sprinter is starting to show us the sun again. Yes, let's get into the sun, into the dirt, into the grass, and hugging these trees. So, mafere funegun, mafere fun chango, mafere fun jemoja. I give thanks. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you can taste the rainbow, Skittles, and bliss. I'm out.